Alright, so for this video we're going to talk a little bit about the bird life in and around the backyard. Talk about some of the bird features that we've set up, and as this is still very early in our yard landscaping and home ownership journey, this is going to serve as the baseline for the future bird activity, which we hope only improves from here. So with that, we'll start in the front yard. And the reason I want to start in the front yard is twofold. First of all, because there's not a lot to explain in terms of the yard itself, but also this is a good place just to talk about the context of the yard, which I think is very important. The reason I think it's important is because across the way here, as I mentioned yesterday, you can see some very large spruce trees. There is a back alley right there, which leads a couple blocks into the houses. And again, there's very large spruce trees and other deciduous trees that are back there. And the bird activity is usually very, very good. In the spring and fall migration, that's where most of the warblers go. I've seen grosbeaks, all kinds of stuff. And really the goal for the yard is to do some of the bridge work, to bridge this fruitful neighborhood back here with our own, which is relatively bare. And as I'm standing here, I can hear house sparrows, blue jays, just heard a chickadee, very common birds. I think actually maybe if I zoom in, what is that? Thought maybe I could get a view of a blue jay there. It's moving. Oh, let's try one more time. Just saw a blue jay. You can see it flickering there. You can just see the tail. It's kind of hiding behind that branch. And it just flew down. Anyways, in terms of the yard itself, we got grass in the front. We got this little bush. I've seen house sparrows in this bush, but not much more. And that was before I trimmed it, cut it down this summer, and it'll slowly grow back. I think it's a honeysuckle, but we'll learn more about it as it grows. In the front yard here, we have a couple of bird feeders. This one's just a prop and it's not going to end up there. This one we bought towards the end of last summer. Really liked the design. It's wearing a Santa toque because it's Christmas. From our window here, we've seen a house sparrow on here, but obviously this hole is too small for a house sparrow. So if it gets used next year, it'll be by a wren or something of that size. We got a little brush here. Haven't seen too many birds. Again, usually house sparrows, mostly because the house sparrows are nesting in the roof of our neighbor's house. And I can actually hear one up there now. They kind of fly in that little gap and nest in that whole area there, from which they fly into the backyard. Which is where we'll go now, because again, not much to see out front. Just talk briefly about these trees, and now I can see a couple magpies. Again, these trees are super fruitful. Quite often see red crossbills, chickadees, nuthatches. Most interesting things, as I mentioned in a previous video, is a northern shrike, Townsend solitaire. Maybe won't see those again. During the fall migration, there's a lot to see here. We've got super lucky and seen red-tailed hawk, red-tailed hawk, broad-winged hawk, common nighthawk. A lot of cool stuff overhead. And again, I see that because I work from that window right there. All right, let's go back to the backyard. One last look. What do we see? Magpies. I've seen Bohemian waxwings down this way. Again, I can see a bird at the top of another tree here. Magpie. Can hear blue jays. There's often merlins at the top of these trees. Heard another chickadee. Okay. Side yard, not much to see. Backyard, might be birds here, but I'll quickly spook them. Yeah, nothing. Okay, so in the summer I've seen some house sparrows in this vine here that climbs up along the side of the shed. Again, not much else here. Here's the suet feeder. I make homemade suet. Let's get a close-up. I use peanut butter, coconut oil, bird seed, threw some cranberries on top of that one just for the visual effect, cornmeal, and usually just some random stuff that I know the birds like. I've seen a downy woodpecker on there, northern flicker on there, red-breasted nuthatch, magpies like that, and house sparrows like that. So pretty much everything eats that suet. And yeah, mostly house sparrows and magpies. We have the peanut ring, and I've put some holiday nuts in there as well, which they don't seem to like. The almonds, walnuts, whatever else is in there. Pecan. But I put the peanuts in there, and it lasts probably 5 minutes. Magpies are usually here first. If I'm lucky, the blue jays will find it, but it goes very, very quickly. I also usually sprinkle some sunflower seed on the ground here just for the birds to hop around, and the dark-eyed juncos liked that when they were coming through, but they are no longer sticking around. I have a little hopper feeder here that I set up, put black oil sunflowers in. Usually goes pretty quickly. What the birds do is they sit in this bush, hop down, grab a seed, go back, eat it, and let the droppings fall there. House sparrows primarily doing that, chickadees sometimes. I have these potted plants here. I'm only pointing them out because I often see the blue jays and the magpies cache their peanuts in there. There's a shelled one. But if you were to dig, I'm willing to bet there's some fresh ones in some of the corners. And they also bury them at various places in the garden too. Within the garden itself, I have a hopper feeder there, used exclusively by house sparrows and rarely some chickadees. I have a heated bird bath. I've had lots of visitors to this. 2 blue jays at once, house sparrows all the time. Haven't seen a chickadee here. Black-billed magpies are here all the time. Yeah, that's about it. Here's the brush pile. And again, the house sparrows sit here. They'll go grab their food and then come back. I have these bird houses set up on the perimeter. Again, they were just plopped here at the end of last season. Didn't get used. We'll put them someplace more appropriate next summer, or next spring, I should say. In our neighbor's tree, we have a Niger feeder. Surprisingly, it's mostly house sparrows that are eating this. I've seen house finches here one day ever. So again, that's something to improve on, because we'd like to get more variety into the backyard. And then I have this little hanging feeder. It's actually meant for a hummingbird feeder, which sits in between this tube, but obviously that is not useful in the winter, so I just took that out. And there's a little tray here, and I put some black oil sunflower. Mostly house sparrows, but again, some chickadees have been here. We saw a chickadee in a previous video. And I actually hear one behind me. You can also hear a blue jay. So yeah, again, the birds are in the yard. It's just a matter of getting them in the yard, which so far is fairly unattractive. And yeah, that's about all the birds we've had here so far. We had a raven in the future garden, which is basically a compost pile at the moment. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.